Good afternoon, it's Wednesday, November 4. I'm Vashan Brown with the Midday News. A special welcome if you're watching on onespotmedia.com. We begin with news on the U.S. election. Tight races are unfolding across the U.S. as President Donald Trump and former Vice President Joe Biden battle for the White House. Now, while results continue to come in, they could change dramatically overnight and in the days ahead. More from the CNN.
It's been a tense election season, and it's not over yet. With a crush of mail-in ballots to be counted, it's too close to call in several states. But while legitimate vote counting continues, President Donald Trump has falsely declared victory and is basically accusing Democrats of trying to steal the election.
This is a fraud on the American public. This is an embarrassment to our country. We were getting ready to win this election. Frankly, we did win this election.
Trump, without any proof, suggested that counting all ballots would disenfranchise his voters and threaten legal action to stop legitimate vote counting. Former Vice President Joe Biden's campaign blasted the president's remarks as outrageous, unprecedented, and incorrect. Biden also speaking in the early morning hours Wednesday, telling Americans to remain patient.
It's not my place or Donald Trump's place to declare who's won this election. That's the decision of the American people.
The record number of mail-in ballots this year is delaying results, something that states expected because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
It's going to take time to methodically and securely tabulate every vote.
And the political scientist Dr. Jermaine McAlpin believes the Democratic candidate Joe Biden could still eke out a victory in the U.S. presidential election.
It's down to the wire in the race for the presidency of the United States following the closing of the polls on Tuesday for the widely anticipated election. Many are watching with eager anticipation to see if the incumbent Donald Trump will defeat his challenger, the Democrat Joe Biden, and win a second term. For a political scientist at the New Jersey City University, Dr. Jermaine McAlpin, a clear path is still there for Mr. Biden to secure victory.
Biden has a path. Even if he loses Florida, which I expect that he will, given the numbers of votes left to be counted. But Pennsylvania will be counting for some time. Wisconsin, especially the Milwaukee suburbs, which is a Democratic stronghold, is still counting. So I expect a win to be eked out. We have 87 possible electoral college votes remaining. And so, out of that, the expectation is that Biden should pick up, enough to get him to 276, even if he loses most of those that are in play, but he has to take Pennsylvania.
He says if Mr. Biden loses that state, then the chances of entering the White House is slim to none. Now, the incumbent Mr. Trump has prematurely declared victory in the election and has called for ballot counting to be halted.
So our goal now is to ensure the integrity for the good of this nation. This is a very big moment. This is a major fraud in our nation. We want the law to be used in a proper manner. So we'll be going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We want all voting to stop. We don't want them to find any ballots at 4 o'clock in the morning and add them to the list, okay? It's a very sad moment. To me, this is a very sad moment, and we will win this, and as far as I'm concerned, we already have won it.
Mr. McAlpin also weighed in on that comment by Mr. Trump.
It's nebulous in terms of what exactly he's going to bring to the Supreme Court, but he has been rehearsing this argument for months now, that mail-in ballots are fraudulent, that absentee voting is fraudulent, and so he, in his mind, has already made a case, though that reality is not being borne out. Statistically, there's a possibility of a tie, 269 to 269, but given the numbers of votes that are left and the states that are left, a tie is unlikely.
Mr. McAlpin was speaking on TVJ's Smile Jamaica Wednesday morning. Giovanni Dennis, TVJ News.
Back home now, leader of government business in the House of Representatives, Edmund Bartlett, says plans are on track for MPs to return to Gordon House later this month for parliamentary sittings. Sittings of the House are currently being held at the Jamaica Conference Centre to ensure that MPs can follow physical distancing rules in light of the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'm to advise the Honourable House that the preparations for a return to Gordon House is now in full flight, that the work has started in earnest, and we're being advised that we should be ready for the 15th of November as we had indicated. The leader of the opposition business and myself have been working on it along with you, Madam Speaker, and the team from the House. And I believe that we are going to be in a position to accommodate all 63 members in a manner and style that is fitting to the Westminster model that we embrace.
The government is moving ahead with plans to make Portmore Jamaica's 15th parish. Local Government Minister Desmond McKenzie moved a motion in the House of Representatives yesterday for the establishment of a joint parliamentary committee to consider the matter. South Central St. Catherine MP Dr. Andrew Wheatley will chair the committee.
And whereas the economic, social and cultural benefits and potential for generating revenue with Portmore becoming a parish, be it resolved that this Honourable House of Representatives appoint a special select committee to be chaired by the member from St. Catherine South Central to sit jointly with a similar committee to be appointed by the Senate and to consider and report on the proposal to make Portmore City Municipality the 15th parish of Jamaica.
Now, the Jamaica Labour Party promised to make Portmore a parish in its manifesto released before the September 3 general election. It's now time for a break on the Midday News, but please stay with us. More local stories when we return. Welcome back. Continuing the news now. Some residents of Orange Bay in Portland are experiencing drainage issues with heavy rains. Our news team visited the area on Monday, where they pointed to an area filled with water. Now, according to residents, the issue started after the construction of the South Coast Highway started.
So since 2000, where the white man come now and say, call we squatters, so that's why them sink that hole there and leave it there. So whenever that hole, enough time, me and my neighbor over there have to go over there and they go out and walk me out of the water release.
One resident explained that in order for the water to be released, drain improvement work is needed.
And I think it needs some more sinking. That's the water can lead out to the sea, but it cannot lead to the sea out. It wants some more to go down the seaside. Like you say, if you could have cut a drain, go that way, that's the water when it can run out to the sea. But if you can look over the seaside right about now, you know, it's high up, and when it's high up that way, the water cannot go out. But if we have a taller drain, it can lead the water go down.
And the residents in Yala St. Thomas are calling for the government to address a severe flooding problem in the community. The issue was again raised following heavy rains which inundated the main road in the community yesterday. It made the road impassable for hours. A number of motorists who tried to brave the flood waters saw their vehicles stalling. It is of even greater concern to the residents following heavy rains which have been impacting the island over the last few weeks. The residents say the problem has existed for years and they're demanding the issue be addressed. They say the issue is due to inadequate drainage infrastructure in Yalas, which has led to the repeated flooding in the community. A desperate plea from residents in Savannah Cross, Clarendon, for the authorities to assist a visually impaired senior citizen who they say has been left stranded due to flooding in the community after heavy downpour on Tuesday. Anthony Log reports.
When heavy rainfall pelted sections of Clarendon on Monday afternoon into Tuesday, residents of Savannah Cross began to worry. They also started putting beds on blocks. Those who tried to leave their homes did so cautiously due to the flooding.
Savannah Cross, Spring Garden need help. If residents of Spring Garden need help. help, help.
According to the residents, it's not the first time they've experienced such flooding.
Not Sunday we gone, the week before we flood, and this week, Tuesday we flood again. So in October, and in this 3rd of November we flood. We need something.
Depending on how tall you are or where you walk, the water reaches as high as knee level. But the residents are extremely concerned about their neighbor, a 70-year-old man who they've been unable to reach.
He just barely can glimpse out of one eye. So if he slide or do anything over there, water trap him over there, we can't tell, we don't know nothing, because guess what, we can't reach him. So please, we need help.
And him alone live?
Him alone live. At least we can come out. He cannot come out because he can't manage it.
Our cameras zoomed, but this is as close as we could get. We got a glimpse of what appears to be a door.
Far you go, higher water reach you, so we can't go.
As simple as see water there, it's very high. Me now ask him, I know it.
If you go to my gate, you reach me up over my knee.
And with the weather forecast predicting more rainfall on Wednesday, we asked the residents about the closest shelter should the situation get worse.
If the water continue and the water gets higher, we don't have anywhere to go. Only place we could go for local safety is the church. The church alone we could use as a shelter. And with the whole corona and the social distancing and everything, it really hard, and we just need a solution to the problem.
Anthony Lug, TVJ News.
Some coronavirus-related news now. One more person has died from COVID-19 in Jamaica. This has increased the country's death toll to 215. The latest case is a 66-year-old man from Trelawney. Meanwhile, the country's COVID-19 case count has climbed to 9,326. 30 new COVID-19 cases were confirmed yesterday. Their ages range from 14 to 71 years. St. James recorded the most cases, followed by Kingston and St. Andrew. The health ministry says 80 patients remain hospitalized. 6 of them are critically ill. An appeal from an elderly woman who is desperately in need of a hip replacement and is struggling to source funding for her surgery. We have more in this report.
Father God, as she seeks assistance for her health, Lord, mighty God, I pray right now, Lord, that you will intervene.
Neighbors and family surround 54-year-old Cecile Wilson in her bedroom praying for her. Miss Wilson has been unable to move around her house because of her medical condition.
For the past 15 years, I've been suffering from this ailment in my hip.
Miss Wilson says when she first fell ill, doctors told her she had arthritis, but she later found out it was otherwise.
I went to several doctors. I was diagnosed as a pinch nurse, but as matter got worse and worse, and went into the doctor. They about a year and 5 months now they diagnosed it as that I need a hip replacement.
With the news of her new diagnosis, she said that's when the situation took a turn for the worse.
I was admitted 3 times, and because of COVID, the surgery, they said the surgery have to be postponed.
She added that currently life has become difficult for her as she's unable to get around on her own, and that's why she's appealing for help.
I was in dialogue with a doctor who told me that I can have the hip done at the Andrews Memorial Hospital, but the cost is a huge one. It's $1.5 million. So I'm here seeking help because it's rough.
I would like somebody, or the U itself, to do the operation as soon as possible, because she's been up there 3 or 4 times, I believe, and they keep sending her home, and the pain is getting worse.
We are really concerned about her, and we would like for her to get some help as soon as possible. So appealing to Jamaica and the public, if you guys could help in assisting her with donations, anything, she would be grateful.
Anyone who's able to assist Ms. Wilson may contact her at 876-501-0999. Herman Green, TVJ News.
And here now is a preview of what's coming up in this evening's health report.
In the next edition of the Health Report, we'll look at floodwaters and diseases.
Floodwaters basically are caused by high levels of rainfall that essentially inundate the land, saturating the land, and causing flooding in areas that are normally not exposed to such high volumes of water, especially roadways and homes and arable land. Now, part of the concerns I have observing what is happening is that a large number of persons are being exposed to floodwaters. They are bathing in it, they're wading in it, and in some cases I suspect they might even be drinking.
That's the Health Report this evening in Primetime News. And now for today's Healthy Living tip. Wash hands thoroughly after contact with floodwater or items contaminated by floodwater. Wear protective clothing such as boots and gloves when you know you will be in contact with floodwater or handling contaminated items. And cover cuts and abrasions and ensure they don't come in contact with floodwater or contaminated items.
Etta has been downgraded to a tropical storm, but it brought with it heavy rains to Central America. The storm made landfall in Nicaragua Tuesday as a Category 4 hurricane, and even though it has lowered in intensity, it can still cause significant damage through floods and landslides, now according to the National Hurricane Center. So far, Etta has destroyed home roofs as well as knocked over trees and power lines. Affected areas can expect up to 3 feet of rain until Etta subsides. Time now for sports. The expected move of the Jamaica Racing Commission and the Casino Gaming Commission to the headquarters of the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission on Hagley Park Road has still not happened. Now, while the legislation is still being worked on, cases of COVID-19 at the BGLC headquarters have stalled the move. Denise Walters reports.
A merger of the Jamaica Racing Commission (JRC), the Casino Gaming Commission (CGC), and the Betting, Gaming and Lotteries Commission (BGLC) is in the works. The legislative, operational and administrative merger of all three bodies are going on simultaneously. The move of the JRC and the CGC to the BGLC office was expected in 2019, but upgrade to Hagley Park Road then prevented the move as there was a parking space issue. A short-term solution has been found with space rented at the neighboring Keysing Avenue. However, in September of this year, chairman of all three bodies, Clovis Metcalf, told TVJ Sports that one employee at the BGLC office tested positive for COVID-19. In a recent interview, he said that number has since increased.
Subsequently, 3 others tested positively, so 4 in all tested positively. And I regret to advise that one died, so let me take this opportunity to say condolences to his family. So that is delaying the team coming into us. We have an environmental solution specialist look at the building, see that, the flows, air flows and everything is fine before we bring them down.
Meanwhile, Metcalf says the most critical is the legislative merger, but it takes time to look at all three bodies and have one act covering them.
But I'm happy to say that the drafting instructions have been completed. The legislation has been sent to the Ministry of Finance. The Ministry of Finance will look at it, make changes, make recommendations, and then it will go on to the CPC, who will have the final look and send it to Cabinet, for approval.
He explains the progress made with the administrative and operational aspects of the merger.
Well, the administrative aspect is going on well. We have had staff meetings, we have met with staff association, so all of that is going well. And those two aspects, the operational and administrative, I'm sure will be completed before the legislative aspect. But the merger cannot be considered completed until the legislative act is passed.
Metcalf is hopeful that with the help they are getting from the Finance Ministry, the merger will be completed within about 3 months' time. Denise Walters for TVJ Sports.
And that's the Midday News. I'm Vashan Brown. Join us at 7 for Primetime News Package. On behalf of the news, sports and production teams, have a good afternoon.